You know what today is, especially after a pivotal game 3. Leg day. Leg day.
Leg day. Huh. Leg day. Huh. Leg day. Huh. 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 Leg day.
You like your intro, cuz? You like your leg day?
Of me in the gym. I don't know how you got that footage, man. Somebody's following me around in the gym. That's cool, though. Yeah, it was leg day yesterday. Here we go. What's up, brother?
We love leg day. You're looking great, brother. You're killing it, man. ESPN, the ALLCITY pocket, just slaying it, and just love your takes and your breakdowns of this playoffs. It's been awesome. So let's start with last night. Joel's 50 burger, and kind of what you expected, where the Sixers would win that and defend their home court in a game 3.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yesterday morning I was on Get Up, First Take. I was on with Stephen A. talking about the game quite a bit, and I pretty much said they were going to win a game. I just had a feeling, and the reason I felt, because the question was, are you more confident in the Sixers getting a win or the Lakers getting a win? Like, both teams kind of similar situations, right? And I said, well, it's the Sixers, and it's because of who they're playing.
Yeah,
the Lakers are playing a machine right now. Like the Denver Nuggets are a precise machine, and if you get them into any sort of close situation, you don't trust any team more in the league than them. They're so consistent, built around this great player. The Knicks, there's more fluctuation there, man. So it wasn't even as much about what I expected out of Embiid, because I think we all are a little bit uncertain about that. I mean, he put up good numbers in New York. Clearly not right. So you don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I was pretty confident Maxey would play well last night. I didn't know who was going to step up, because some of the role players have been a non-factor in New York, right? I mean, giving you almost no offensive production out of some of those key guys. It was more because I have doubts about New York. Like, who are you going to get it from consistently every night? You could pencil in a certain number. Nobody, not even Brunson. And look, Brunson played better. He shot better. He had obviously a bigger impact on the game, but he's shooting a lot, man. He's a high volume usage, dribbling the ball a ton, taking a ton of shots. And I'm just going, okay, well, then look at the rest of the roster. How do you know where it's going to come from the Knicks? So I felt very confident that the Sixers, Maxey would be great. I thought Embiid would be good enough. And then I thought somebody has to start making shots out of the rest of this group. And of course, they got some offense out of Oubre. And I thought Campaign gave him a huge lift.
Yeah, he gave him a great spark, too. He's got a little swag. And,
Yes.
Listen, he in Phoenix, he was in postseason, right? He's another ball handler. I know you're small, but I'd much rather have Campaign in there than anybody. I feel confident with him.
Well, listen, he's obviously, he carries himself. He's got tremendous confidence, right? He's fearless. He's not going to be fazed by it. Phoenix, Milwaukee, he's been in spots, man. He's been with teams where there's expectations. So he's not going to be afraid of that. And he's not, Dal, you don't know if a guy has barely played in a series, is he going to be able to make shots ultimately? Because, it's still got to go in.
Sure.
He gave them a huge spark because, Tobias is still obviously, struggling offensively. Batum is a guy, anything you get really out of Batum is going to be a bonus. I know he had the big play-in game, but that's a one-off type of night for him now. He has other things that he does, he brings to the table that you value more. Oubre hadn't been there. And then the guy that I think a lot of people are surprised about his ineffectiveness is Buddy Hield. He just has been completely taken out of this. And he doesn't look comfortable handling the ball. They're not giving him any space. When he's on the floor, they're going face-to-face. So Nick Nurse put him in there for 4 minutes. He was 0 for 2, didn't look particularly comfortable, and he decided, we're going to go in a different direction. And you put a guy in that ran right to the light. It's like, yeah, let's go, man. I get any space, I'm going to let it fly. And those 11 points, I believe he had, right? 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, those 11 points, you honestly can't overstate how important it was to get some kind of supplemental offense from other guys. So look, the role players stepped up enough. But obviously this game was about Embiid, right? The greatness of Embiid and the display that he put on. It's kind of mind-blowing. His shooting ability. It really is, man. A guy that size, the shots he was making from deep. There
was a couple in guys' faces, shooting over him. He looked like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he took one of those threes at the top of the key when he caught the ball.
Yeah.
There was literally, I don't remember if it was Brunson or who the defender was. Might have been Hartenstein. Whoever it was, they were literally practically chest to chest with him when he caught it. So most guys aren't even going to think about rising up, but he had a size advantage and he was feeling it at that point, and he went up and drained it. And so he was obviously incredible. He still doesn't have the ability to go in and like really put his back on you and dominate you down there. He did the first possession of the game, but he doesn't spend a lot of time in the paint offensively. He just doesn't have, I think, the lift or the confidence in the leg to play in that kind of traffic, man. I think he's worried about it, man. You can even see like he's not jumping above the rim on his finishes. Like he's really playing a grounded game because I think he's cautious about how he lands, who he lands near. He doesn't want to risk anything. So to play a game where you kind of had certain aspects of your game like taken away from you that you just can't do these things and to still put up 50 against a physical defensive team, it's one of the best playoff performances that the Philadelphia 76ers have ever had.
Yeah, and you look at it, clearly no explosion, and you see it with rebounding. Like, I thought last night, even hearing all the stuff about the rebounds, that he would make a more conscious effort because he's kind of, Wilt-esque in that way. He hears stuff and he'd go after it, but he just has he's very little explosion with his legs.
No, it's a testament. This whole thing, what you're watching, is a testament to his skill level. I've said for a long time about him, it sort of defies what I know about biomechanics and just physics to be that big, that strong, hands that big, to shoot the way he does and have that kind of touch. This is one of the best jump shooters in the NBA, and he's like 7'1", 280. It defies all logic, everything you know about what big guys look like, because he's at one point, when he was winning the MVP and even before leading up to that, like there's times he's on the court and I said, this is the closest thing this league has seen to Shaq when he goes down there. He's unstoppable, immovable force with that kind of power and strength. But the fact that you could say, okay, that's kind of not going to be in your repertoire right now because you just don't have the confidence to have the lift down there to get off something quality. You don't want to land around other people. I totally get that. As a guy that went through 2 ACL reconstructions and 6 scopes, I know what that feels like, landing. You're worried about where you land. There's another component to it too, I think. You think about it. If he's playing below the foul line or let's say below the restricted area, like down in that area of the court on the block, front of the rim, going to the offensive glass, I got news for you, man. That's going to be an impossible order for him to get to the other end of the floor defensively. And that's part of this. That's a shorter run. And right now, a dead sprint, 90 feet to get back to the rim. If a team's got a transition opportunity and you could get back there and maybe affect the secondary break at the rim, that's a long run. And guess what? If he makes that run, what he's putting his body through, he's not making it back down the other end of the floor when you guys get the ball. So I think that plays into it. And it's actually smart because it's conserving his ability to get to the other end of the floor, to be somewhat of a paint deterrent. And if he's down below inside 10 feet, that's going to be a really difficult thing for him to do, to sprint to the other end of the floor to help them.
It's such a great point, and it's overlooked. People automatically, well, how come you're not going in the post? How come you're not going deep into the post? And you're right. Like getting back up and back on that leg, and with his size and wind right now, is a chore, and that's going to just sap all your energy
completely. And I think it's smart on his part. I mean, it's risky because if he does have an off shooting night and you're not getting the normal 14 points a game in the paint that he normally gets on average in a regular season game, and and for whatever reason on a given night, he's not shooting well, because it happens to guys, it's going to be very difficult to win. So right now, he's making the ball go in the basket regardless. And so let's ride it. And let's see what happens here in game 4. It's going to be really interesting what the Knicks do now going into game 4, that he has done this to them, because you can't sit back and allow one guy to destroy you to that extent. So the Knicks are going to do something differently with Joel Embiid in the game 4.
So let me ask you real quick, because off of the supporting cast of the Sixers, buddy of mine, Tony, the ref, in fact, he's a big high school, college basketball referee, because I was down there last night, and I'm watching Buddy Hield all 4 minutes. And he said he's petrified. And
yeah.
What is that? Like, you got a veteran. Like, Buddy Hield's been championship games in college or, Final Fours against Villanova, the whole thing. And he comes in and he's wide-eyed. And even Tobias, to some extent, looks again wide-eyed. How does that happen?
I don't know. The Buddy Hield thing, I'm going to be honest with you, man. With Tobias, there's such a track record of it. This is now what you come to expect, right? If the ball goes in the basket, it's like a sigh of relief if he's making shots. Buddy Hield is very surprising to me because when they acquired Buddy Hield, you made a great point. Listen, the guy played on the biggest stage. He was the National Player of the Year, Anthony. He was the Player of the Year every single night. He was in crazy environments, man. Everything geared to stop him. I know it's not the NBA, but you would think guys that play on that level with that level of importance, right, that you're not going to see any situation that phases you. Now, listen, Buddy Hield doesn't have playoff experience, man. So this is a different animal. This is a Northeast corridor rivalry. This is an alley fight. This is war. Okay. And Buddy Hield, when he came into Philly, I thought this is a perfect complementary player when they get Embiid back. Remember, he came in and Embiid was out. They didn't really play together much. So I was really waiting to see what this looked like when Embiid came back because I thought, man, Hield's going to get great looks with Embiid on the floor, better looks than he had. And the better looks than he was getting in Indiana even when he was playing well. And it comes down to this. This situation clearly is overwhelming to him because forget last night. Game 2 is the one I'm looking at. He played 14 minutes. He took one shot or two shots in that game. There were a couple times he ended up with the ball and he had to handle the ball for a second. And it was unbelievable. One time he caught the ball right over half court on the left wing and they pressured up on him. I don't even remember who was guard. And he literally just started dribbling and he dribbled. It looked like a kid at my camp. Yeah. He dribbled from the left side of the court all the way over to the right sideline and just here, somebody please take this basketball. And I was kind of wow, man, he's that uncomfortable with ball pressure, handling the ball, and to forget getting open. So here's the thing. You can take him out if you want. If he's not going to move a lot, and their offense isn't predicated that way. Indiana has more weak side slashes, ball reversals. It's a different offense than what Philly runs, built around Embiid and Maxey. So you're going to spend a lot of time spotting up. And all you got to do if you're the Knicks, say, okay, he's not going to be part of this series. You're staying home with him, no help responsibility, chest to chest. They're not running down screens for him. He's not going to run ball screen. He's not going to do anything to create offense for himself. He's not getting clean looks. Pretty easy to do that to a player if you make up your mind to do it. He had a clean corner look last night, if you remember, his first shot. It was one of the most important shots of the series.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because I just know if that ball goes in, he's going to feel different. He's going to feel different, man, because they're like, oh, okay, at least it's not a goose egg, right? One went in. Now you're going to feel it. Your confidence level goes up. Who knows, man? Maybe the guy makes 3 or 4 threes last night. But and Nick Nurse leaves him in. Instead, he missed it. You could see it on his face. It was like the end of the world. He's pressing. He wanted that ball to go in so badly. And Nick Nurse sees what we see, and he's like, I got to go in a different direction, man. I need a spark from somebody. And Campaign got those minutes, and Campaign took advantage of it.
So let me ask you a strategic question. When you look at the Sixers and how you're going to play Brunson, right? Do you allow him to get his, and you really focus on the role players, right? And being more straight up and making sure that Josh Hart isn't open to bang those big dagger threes and those momentum changing threes. Same thing with DiVincenzo. And you go, you know what? Listen, you want to go for 50, Jalen? Go ahead. Because I'm not letting the role players and the energy, because they're energy monsters. When those guys are bagging those threes and getting those second chances, it fuels the Knicks. I'd rather Jalen go get 50 on me, and I'm taking out the other guys.
I think it's the way to play this team. It's the way I would play the team if I was coaching against them. He's taking 28 shots a game. He took 21 in the regular season. I mean, if you want Jalen, you want to shoot 28, 30 times, go ahead, man. Go ahead. You're a smaller type guard, and no one else is getting it. No one else getting involved in those possessions. Be my guest, because we're not going to give up clean looks to the, I would actually even live with Josh Hart to a certain extent, man. He has to cool off. He's a 31% for the year 3-point shooter. All right. So you're going to live. You can't take it all away. I'm going to live with that because that percentage wise, my best bet is Josh Hart taking open looks. Anunoby is going to do certain things. He's going to be in that 15, 16, 18 probably point because he can take you off the dribble. He's fit, big, and physical too. And he can get to the rim and finish. He's going to do certain things. So who does that leave left that you're trying to limit clean looks? Clearly, DiVincenzo is the guy at the top of the list. I think you also got to make sure you're paying attention to McBride. Yeah. McBride is one of those guys that can string together some clean looks. Those are the guys I think that you want to take out. And if Brunson wants to shoot the ball 30 times a game in this series, Anthony, I think the Sixers have a great chance. I really do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just take away the kicks, right? Let him drive, all right? Because the bottom line is he's not beating you by himself. He can't beat you by himself. But the only way the Knicks win this is if they go crazy. Look, the game's won in game 2. The Sixers should have won game 2. Hart went nuts. So he goes bananas in those 2 games, and they're close games, and the Sixers are winning, right? So you just got to worry about the DiVincenzos and worry about those big energy monsters that kind of suck you in.
Hey, Anthony, go back in the history of this league and look at the number of teams that have had their highest volume shot taker be 6'2" and under. Okay, and look at the track record. I'm not saying those guys have never won series, or in Allen Iverson's case, won a damn MVP, took a team to the finals. I get it.
Yeah, but that was 1 year.
Right,
that's great as he was.
And that's my point.
They go to the finals, nothing else.
That's my point. And go back and look at all the other list of guys. Like, yeah, they win some series sometimes, like Lillard in Portland. Okay, yeah, he had a little bit of playoff success, but when you got a guy that size taking all those shots all the time, it's just hard for those guys to be efficient night in and night out. It's just really hard way to operate offensively. And so you just look traditionally, you've had guys that are like your lead ball handler that are your primary decision maker, but they're much bigger. They're much bigger guys. And technically LeBron James to me is a point guard. The dude is 6'8", 260. He's getting downhill. And he's also, by the way, one of the best passers the league's ever seen. Jokic basically plays point for Denver. He is 7 feet tall, and he's got incredible passing ability and strength and size. Luka is 6'8". Luka is a guy that I think eventually is going to get there and do that, taking a lot of shots at that spot because they're so big and strong. The shots they get are so good, and then they can pick you apart with their passing. Smaller guards, which Jalen Brunson is in that category, 6'2" and under, regardless of how strong he is and how well built he is and all that, doesn't matter. It's a smaller guard. It is hard to be consistently efficient night in, night out, to do it. 4 wins in 1 round, 4 wins in the second round, 4 in the third. Like, it's just hard to keep playing that way. So force him to be a 25 to 30 field goal attempt guy. By the way, if he's taking 25 or 30 in the FGA column, when you add in 10 free throws, that's another 5 attempts he was trying to get. So you're really talking about, and Charles Barkley said it last night, and I thought it's a good point, because I always think that. We were just talking about a guy takes 28 shots. Well, 28 shots. No, he didn't. He took 14 free throws. That dude took 35 shots. Like, that's what we're talking about. And Brunson's kind of that way. You have to live with it. If he's making tough shots, go ahead, man. Have as many as you want. We cannot allow these other guys to have these splashy runs that augment that. And that would be my strategy on Jalen Brunson, man. As great as he is, and nobody has more respect for him than what he's done than me. I just think that's the way to play this team. It's a hard road when your guy is 6'2" and under, taking 30 shots a game. That's a really difficult road to try to navigate multiple wins in a series.
How do you? What's your vibe? You have a great vibe on series. You think Sixers tie it up, and then they tie it up. They have all the momentum in the world now.
Sixers win game 4. Look, this could be, Anthony. Unfortunately, this could be one of those series, man, where every home team wins the first 6.
Wow.
Wouldn't shock me, man. Yeah. Wouldn't shock me. You know, the Knicks are a tough group. They get energized in the Garden, right? And I think that stage was a little bit much for I know they were in both games, but that stage was a little bit much for a couple guys. And I don't know what it's going to be like. You go back there 2-2 for a game 5, what that environment's going to be. So you wouldn't be shocked. Okay, Knicks win that one. Come back to Philly. Philly holds home court. They get entered, and now you got a game 7 on the road, man, of these two teams, which would be an absolute war. And look, this is getting ahead of myself because the Sixers have to win the 4th game first. Here's what I'm encouraged about. I said weeks ago, if Embiid comes back and plays and he gets enough games under his belt, that's the biggest threat to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. That team's going to the conference finals. If they can stay out of Boston's bracket, they did that. So that's how I felt. And then he gets dinged up at the end of the year. And then we needed to see him, and we saw him. And I said when I saw him in that Miami game, I said, man, oh man, oh man, I don't see how to beat the Knicks if he looks like this. So here we go. Going into the series, I had picked the Sixers to win it before I saw him that night. And then I said, I don't see how to win a series. I said, the Knicks are going to win a series. Well, guess what, man? He's still operating at a highly effective rate, despite the fact that he's at 70% probably physically. So that's where I'm at on this. I'm sorry. Everybody wants to know who's going to, it depends on him.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's that simple. And he doesn't have to get a 50 spot. But if he's efficiently getting north of 30 to 40, efficiently getting to the line, as many times as he did, if he's doing those things, regardless of the rebounding numbers, regardless of the paint deterrence, that's not quite the same as it usually is. Doesn't matter. If he's doing that offensively, he's controlling the series. And if that's the case, the Sixers are going to win this series, whatever number of games that is. But I think for me, it's a game-to-game thing because that wheel is like, it's missing a lug nut. All right. So you're going to watch that wheel. One of those lug nuts came off. A couple other ones are loose. So, we're looking at this thing saying, is that tire going to stay on there? And to me, that's a night-to-night
What a
proposition.
great analogy. That's just a fabulous analogy. Hey, real quick while I got you, any other series that you see as surprise? Obviously, Boston falls asleep in game 2. The Milwaukee, Indiana is interesting because of the flip-flop and what happened there. Orlando, you expected to win yesterday. You love with Minnesota's matchup against Phoenix. Any other series that you go, watch this one, there could be something brewing?
Let me give you a quick synopsis, man. I'll run through each because it doesn't have to take long. Let me give you a quick. So Boston, Miami, here's what happened in game 2. First of all, what you watched that night, there's 3,300 playoff games have been played since they put the 3-point line in roughly. Only 3 times in the history of this league have teams made more threes than the Heat did. So my point is that's a one-off anomaly type game with that level shooting. But I will say this, Boston has a tendency to do this, man. They raise vulnerability issues where you look at them and go, this is the most scrutinized 64-win team in the history of this league. Every time they have one of those nights, we all go, I don't know, man. And so what I said on the air is this. You want to let people know who you are? You want to mark your territory, lift your leg, okay? To use another analogy, I got 3 dogs. You want to lift your leg on something? You go down to Miami and you win game 3 and you flip the script immediately. Don't go down 2-1. If you go down 2-1, this is going to be a 7-game series. So that's where I look at Boston. This is a statement, absolute statement game for them to go down to Miami, right the ship, guard the 3-point line better. Don't play so much heavy ISO that they did in game 2. Get back to your style. I think order will be restored. We talked about New York, Philly, Milwaukee, Indiana. I picked the Pacers to win the series before the series. We don't know when Giannis is coming back. When's he injecting himself into this? The style of the Pacers is a significant problem for Milwaukee. Think about this. It's 1-1, and Lillard has gone ballistic, played at a higher level than at any time this season for the Bucks. He cannot keep that up. The Pacers are going to adjust to him. If Giannis doesn't play, I think Indiana wins both games in Indiana. And you put Milwaukee on the brink of elimination. I really like the Pacers' style. Siakam's playing out of his mind. Halliburton is due for a big game, and it's going to be tonight. Halliburton's going to go for like 25 plus tonight. Cleveland, Orlando, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not super interested in that series. All right. Just going to be honest. There's been 3 blowouts. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in that series.
Yeah.
Thunder, Pelicans, that's Oklahoma City put on a masterpiece the other night. New Orleans without Zion, they just don't have enough. Oklahoma City's starters, that's the second connection amongst 5 guys besides Denver in the entire NBA. Denver, LA, that pretty much put them to bed last night. Minnesota, Phoenix, I think, listen, Phoenix has one opportunity to get back in the series tonight. They can win a game. Minnesota's physicality is too much for Phoenix. They're not mentally tough enough. They're not physically tough enough. They get defeated. They get demoralized. They're not guys that want to jump in a trench together and fight. They're just not made up that way. They don't believe. And when things go sideways in a game, shoulders drop, body language sucks. Minnesota's feasting on that. So they could win a game. They've got so much talent. I don't think they're winning that series. Minnesota's just owning them. They're turning that into a fight, a bar fight, and Phoenix doesn't want that.
Perfect.
Oh, Dallas Clippers, last one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The single biggest game to this point in the NBA playoffs takes place tonight.
Yes.
It's 1-1. Now you get Dallas going home. To me, the winner of the game tonight probably wins the series. I picked Dallas to win the series. They don't go. They can't go down 2-1 by losing that first game at home. Although Luka in a game 7 on the road, if that's what we're going to take, I feel pretty good about that. He already showed you what he could do in a game 7 on the road against Phoenix a couple years ago when he beat them by 40, and he owned them and laughed at Devin Booker the whole way. Luka's capable of doing that. These two teams are legitimate threats to Denver. Legitimate threats. So whoever wins this series is a problem because they wouldn't see the Nuggets until the conference finals. So you got to survive a really tough first-round matchup. Kawhi is going to get better each night as the series goes. So if you're Dallas, you need to get these wins earlier in the series while he's trying to find his rhythm.
That is an incredible summation of the NBA playoffs, series by series, with the one, the only, Legs, the great Tim Legler. Love you, brother. Best to the family, all right? Go kiss that baby.
Same to you. Talk next week.
See you, pal.
We all silly like the mayor.